In a world that seems obsessed with getting ahead, manifesting more, etc., this is going to be the plot twist of all plot twists of a motherfucking podcast episode, because I'm going to encourage you to stop and not want to be better. Get off the self-improvement train, fuck productivity, and just stop. Welcome to I Am Divine AF. This is not just a podcast. It's an anthem for the souls ready to reclaim their divinity and break free into their highest destiny. My mission is to help you answer the casual "how are you?" with "I've never been fucking happier." So buckle up as we go on a journey to debunk divinity and liberate the only thing that creates your reality, your consciousness. Episodes will be engineered with spiritual empowerment that awaken your superconscious, activate your divine gifts, and help you live the legacy you always dreamed of. One divine aligned step at a time. Let's make magic, people, and have the time of our lives while doing it. Stop and learn to love yourself as you are in this exact moment, because it is only you. It is only you. And what I mean by that is that you are the only determining factor. You are the only factor that determines the life and legacy that you get to live. And there's so much to unpack here. And I've been in my process of truly sitting with so much, because unless I have something to say that I truly understand, believe, and have embodied, and it's not even a belief thing, that I have known and sat with that knowing and turned it into knowledge and embodied that in the fabric of my being and tangled with it and danced with it and fell with it and got up with it and then went, ooh, I feel like I get this. Then I'm not here to meet a performance metric or a productivity metric or a strategy of post X amount. I'm here to share when I feel that it is valuable for you. And it took a long time to overcome this voice that you need to be doing more. We don't need to be doing like so much of the things that we think and feel pressured to do. And this episode, I'm going to pour from the soul and just tell you guys how it is and what I've been navigating in the hopes that like someone out there is like, fuck, I vibe with that. I needed to hear that today. So you don't need to be doing half the shit that you feel guilty about not doing. You just need to be happy. You need to love your vessel. We need to love each other. And right now I'm dead in the middle of an experiment, which I'll give you details about later. But this experiment is flipping everything that we got conditioned into on its fucking head. Experiment Escape the Matrix. It's probably called the Divinity Experiment. That's the working title for now. But yeah, and I will give you details about that later. But so much has been coming up. As I was having a conversation with a girlfriend, she was having a hard time. And so many things came up in that conversation that I wrote down for myself. And I was like, wow, I really haven't been using my voice as much, and there's so much to help others. And, a couple of the things that came up were, things like, you can't be stable in your truth if you keep living in someone else's lie. No one can hold anything against you that you don't hold against yourself. You need to let it out, but make sure you don't keep letting it back in. It's like the things we do as we navigate reality and we make a change, and then we default back to a conditioned state of being that allows things back in. And so this is why the experiment is so important, to really unveil the engineering of pattern construction in general. But the whole thing is that we can make choices from our future, not from our past, right? If we want to be in the pattern interrupt and we want to get into sort of that timeline shifting energy. And just remember that everything does feel like it's falling apart before it's coming together, and you can still know you made the right choice and have a hard time. So yeah, I just feel like sitting with that is kind of what prompted me to feel pulled into creating, and actually I didn't feel pulled into creating this episode until she sent me a message again and was like, hey, I shared that episode and I wasn't the only one that needed it. And she showed me the feedback and whatever. So here I am showing up because you know what? Not showing up isn't helping anybody. So welcome to me unraveling from the deep parts of my soul in the hopes that someone out there listening is going to benefit from this. And I just want to truly say from the bottom of my heart that the world could be telling you one thing and you could feel deep in the pit of your being that that's not where you're at. You know what I mean? And there is a lot of the chosen ones are being called, and there's a call to use our voice, and the irony of that as I now feel like, it wasn't the calling that I was answering in the way that I thought I was going to answer it, but this is the whole fucking point. When you move from the flow and it's effortless and all of a sudden you're hitting record and you're like, I don't even know why this wasn't planned. That is divine alignment of the highest order. And you are a conduit and a channel using your energy field and your gifts in the service of another. And it isn't a whole production and a strategy and a polished performance box that you're ticking. And there has been so much around visibility right now. But as I watched this, and listen, I get that you could have a visibility wound and that's what's stopping you from being rich. But I didn't resonate with some of the things that I was seeing from others. And while I think they're powerful, potent offers to support people into the alignment with their own purpose and power, while everyone was saying, get more visible, post more, produce more, create more, share. I was like, I'm being called into absolute silence. I was in retreat when everyone was in visibility, and I was in the virtue of silence, not actually using my voice. And right now I can see why. Because I sat with myself long enough. And I say this to you to share the fact that you don't need to follow anyone else. You need to go where there is no path and leave a trail. You have your unique internal guidance system, your intuitive intelligence, and it knows you better than anybody on this planet. You have an entire soul tribe that's going to guide you to your highest timeline, your destiny, your most euphoric state of being. And it will all make sense when you start to trust it. But it's hard to go when everyone's going right. It's hard to go, you know what? I'm going to go left, or I'm willing to sit here and let everyone leave me behind, inverted commas behind, to just sit here. Because right now I feel called into stillness. I feel like just being here, and my goal and your goal might not be the same thing, right? Maybe my goal is not to be seen. Maybe my goal is not to be more visible or to make more money. My goal is to be deep in my truth and to be in the truth in such a way that I feel liberty, that I feel love, that I feel spiritual sovereignty, that I feel awe, that I feel wonder, full of wonder, that I feel excitement about life, that I feel fascinated, and that I feel deeply, deeply, deeply connected to myself and every other person. Do you understand what a gift that is? To suddenly have so much overflow of love coming from within you because you sat within yourself. You think productivity requires you to eliminate distractions, but what if productivity itself was the distraction from getting to know what we need to know in order to be who we can sit with in order to attract what we are destined to experience? Let me tell you, you can attract a lot of things, you can manifest a lot of things, and you still can miss this energy, this experience, this euphoria. And this is a thing, right? You think the money will make you happy until you're wealthy and you're empty. You think that the hot body will bring you more love until you're hot and you're still single or whatever. You are constantly, and I mean you as in us as humanity, we are constantly trained to link our fulfillment to things that externally validate us that are often anchored in some type of performance or superficial or ego anchored baseline that will never, ever get our soul to backflip and say, fuck yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so we keep chasing the next thing. And it's this perpetual cycle of instant gratification on loop, only to have it fade and on to the next we go. And I've lived that hedonic treadmill. I've ran that treadmill. I've ran marathons on that treadmill. And I was like, yeah, I'm off. Yeah. So it brings me into the exploration of what is the goal itself? Like, what is desire itself? What is the most divine origin of desire? And this is when I started to really realize, like, oh, we really fucked up how we even desire in the first place. You know what I mean? And until you stop trying to get ahead, you really don't realize that you might be heading in the direction that isn't going to fulfill you at all. And so it's okay to stop. And that's one of the biggest things about this experiment is restoring the integrity of desire itself. Because I've realized that everything in life is linked to some type of desire, which is cosmic engineering. And the blueprint and the engineering and the laws, they are all fine. But when they're used in a way that creates pressure to the human, suffering that's unnecessary, I have a problem with that. So I want to understand where we got the wiring wrong. You know, people shouldn't be feeling so breathless and suffocated in survival. And that's just like surviving life. That's not even just like, I don't have enough money to pay my bills. This is like surviving the complexity of a conditioning that is an entrapment into judgment, comparison, inadequacy, performance, and superficiality of possessions and materialism. And that's okay. Nothing is wrong with all of that. We can observe without judging another in a way that creates division. We can purchase things that bring us joy and love, but they can't be the root, anchor, source of our satisfaction. This is the satisfaction geometry that's being re-engineered in the experiment. It's like the desire and what we're satisfied by itself, for me personally in my life, has had incredible distortion. And only when you feel true desire being fulfilled on a different wavelength, then you know the difference. And so I love the whole desire fulfillment paradigm. I love the work by Neville Goddard. I love, Florence, and I love Tesla, and I love the OGs, and even Napoleon Hill, and I'm not disputing energetics or the laws of the universe, which are unchangeable, but we're moving into a new earth geometry anyways, not based on the Fibonacci sequence. So we're going to see evolution of the laws that even govern our co-creatorship as manifestors, as moving energy into material form. And so there's a lot to dive into. But this is so much bigger than manifestation, because manifestation is just the result. Literally, manifestation is the result. Fulfillment is the result. So if we need to understand what we're fulfilling, we need to understand desire. And until we understand desire fully, I don't believe that we can be fulfilled in the ways that we think we can be when we chase the desires that we chase. And I hope that that's not as confusing as it may sound, but basically be willing to stop. Be willing to stop to see. Be willing to sit to feel. Be willing to pause to find pleasure. Because at the end of the day, life is always in session. And I feel there's a lot of focus on the vision, and we are always moving towards something when the only place that determines where we get to is how we sit in the now. So I don't know where we're all running to, or where I've been running to. And this is what I've been doing for the past 2 years, is really finding the pathways on the multidimensional layers of what we call our reality. And that is from the cellular level, from the light codes in the DNA into the body, into the biological system, into the neuropsychology, into the self, into the soul within the self, or the self within the soul, or however you want to call it, into the Trinity, and into this societal conditioning, into the matrix, into the system, into the planetary system, into the solar, into the galaxy, and understanding like what the F is this all? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to vibe with knowledge is where I'm at. I want to get it. Like, I want to seek, and I want that seeking to be the fulfillment. I want to feel in my body where my truth resonates. Because let me tell you guys, we're moving into the age of intuition. And I have been so ahead of my time on so many things in the past 20 years, and I didn't have the courage to speak about them and stand behind them and really go, I believe in this. And so I'm going to start talking about it and start sharing my thoughts on this and start the conversation in the hopes that we can be more in resonance with our coherent evolution as not just humans within ourselves focused on our goals, but as a planet, as a humanity, and just as souls coming here on this journey that is so fucking legendary. And we take it all so seriously, and the noise is loud. Let me tell you, I don't escape this work either. I went to sleep in absolute euphoria. And let me tell you, this quadruple retrograde has been hitting. It's been hitting. But we see what we choose to look at in life. And I've been in this experiment. This experiment is taking me deep because that's what I asked for. And I'm doing it in order to understand how to pattern interrupt, to understand not just law of attraction, but our entire torus of energy field and the dynamics of how that all works. Because of course, I understood ever so slightly a timeline shift, and I've seen the matrix and I've seen the geometry and I've seen the things and I understand, I've seen it. So I believe that it's there, but do I truly understand the inner workings of that when it comes to being in divine union with this as an energy field? And that's where I'm sitting with and all the things that play into that, learning to listen to intuition and trust that, learning to sit with our shadow and question it. Like, why are you shouting at me? Why are you pushing me? Why am I addicted to these things that I'm addicted to? What am I actually numbing myself from? All the work. But then there's nothing to fix. Like, just be curious, be observing. And then there's it's easier said than done. And I get it, but we get to choose. And so this is why I think I've been pulling back into silence, because as we develop our sort of multi-dimensional sensory system, the platitudes in which we can have multi-dimensional awareness is overwhelming. We can be aware of our intuition, emotion, shadow, environment, planet, cosmic system, and all of it simultaneously. That's a lot of inverted commas noise, but it's not noise. It's just feedback. It's information. It's data. It's data, and we get to choose what to tune into. And I think this is the whole thing about the sensory overload. When we're not aware that we're being upgraded in such a level where we may even start reigniting our telepathic capabilities, our astral travel capabilities. I know people who are seeing entities and traveling to places, and there are more of us on this journey of discovery than we might believe, and there's so much comfort and unity in that, and we're being so dearly held by the galactic field, and there's so much more to this thing life than we realize. But if we don't stop to feel that we are the entirety of life itself in every fragment of our geometry, our cell carries the same geometry as our body, which carries the same geometry as our earth, which is crazy. So we are at all times whole, even in the tiniest bits of ourself. And that is really powerful. But until we stop and start reassessing what we got caught up in, and this is nothing against the people out there going for it, and this episode isn't for you. This is for the people who are like, I am not keeping up, but I feel the pressure to perform. I feel like I should be further. I should feel like I should be more. I should be doing more. I should. Just be. Stop. Pause. It's okay. Like, it's a game. It's not going anywhere. You're gonna be lost within yourself. And that's the worst thing to lose. You're not losing time. Time doesn't exist. You could have 1 week that gives you the progress that you could have made in a decade when your toroidal field is mastered, because the field doesn't change, we do. Our alignment changes and we can timeline shift or quantum leap within this field. And that's what changes, what manifests on that timeline or on that waveform. And this is why I keep saying manifestation. It's so much deeper because it's actually all frequency and waveform in this sacred geometry. And so you're not out of time because time doesn't exist. Alignment is more important than strategy, because path of least resistance, that is literally the Tao, and the entire foundation of the cosmos, the code of the cosmos is path of least resistance. And so you're in a sequence of ever evolving choice symmetry that is seeking out that path of least resistance. But that's when you enter the mind, enter logic, enter time, enter linear goals, enter all this shit and just fucking get distorted into the frustration. The biggest frustration is that you're out of sync with the system, the way it was designed to flow. As you, through you, in a sequence of continuity, as you continue to be self-evolving, you could, through stillness and understanding, shift a perspective so powerfully that you don't just have a timeline shift, you have a quantum leap. And you could start living a life totally different. But how do you know the life you want to live if you don't even know what you truly desire? And I say truly as the emphasis word, as in truth. What is the truth of what you desire? And we don't sit with ourselves long enough to really explore that. Desire itself has been an entrapment because it's been distorted, and that plays out in so many ways, and it keeps us in really low frequencies when we are always on the chase, and now we call that manifestation. But how many of us are actually living in love without having the things that we're trying to manifest? Because then we're just living in hope that we're going to get these things and then be happy, you know? And I believe in manifestation. I just don't believe in missing your life while miracles are in incubation. And it's like, I just want to get back to the basics of loving the body that I wake up in, loving the energy that circulates around me and creates this home, this society, this earth, being in observation and connection to life itself in all things. Like, guys, that's the highest high of all. Like, that is the highest high. When you start connecting and communicating and realizing, woof, there is a lot of unified field here. And you start really playing in that unified field from a place of deep resonance. And then you find coherence with that. Like, when you resonate with something, you vibe with that thing. When you start vibing in alignment, you have this coherence. And, you know, I know people talk about this all the time, the mind-heart coherence. But like, coherence with your field, with the reality that you're living, with everything within it. I mean, like, even objects that you think have no life are energetic form. They are frequency waveforms forming into geometric patterns that create a structure visible to the eye. And we are that energy as well. And it's just very beautiful. It's just very beautiful because when you slow down, you realize what it's all about. And when you stop, I think you get to meet yourself in ways that unravel the prison you don't sometimes realize you're keeping yourself in. But you don't realize that until you slow down and stop. And so if anyone feels like they've been needing a break, consider this an invitation. You don't need permission. You just need to accept the invitation. RSVP, yes. Because the world is not going anywhere. Your power as a creator is not going anywhere. The vision's not out of reach. Your body can feel younger, look younger. Like, age is nothing. Age is a construct that actually instructs our biological systems to develop in a way that feels more debilitating than exhilarating and youthful. So don't be afraid to stop. Tell productivity it can F right off for a hot minute. Pause. Know that nothing is a disadvantage other than maybe your ability to be in the most powerful place that you could be, which is in the now, in your beingness, in your enoughness, in your worthiness, in your abundance, in your love, in your exhilaration and curiosity, in your fuck around and find out and have the time of your life while doing it, as you take the pressure off of performing and simply just get back to the joy of existing. So I don't know if that's going to help anybody today, but thanks for going on the journey. My thoughts will become more coherent as I resonate in deeper and deeper simplicity of the divine truth that I'm beginning to witness, and what a special journey that is. So if I'm not sharing, it's because I'm in my journey as well. And I hope that the things I do share land on your souls, flood your hearts, and keep your mind at peace. And if you took anything away from this today and there's a comment section, feel free to drop a comment, share it if you feel called to share it, or just resonate and vibe with it. Either way, just be in joy, be in the moment. Don't miss your life. Life is always in session. You are exactly where you are destined to be. Just pause and remember that. I love you. Stay divine and love and light. And I'm just grateful. Thanks for tuning in today, and we will touch base again soon.